Alright, I wanted to make a video today going over what I believe to be the optimal League's relic build and the path that I'll be taking this coming Monday when Catalyst Leagues finally launches. Now when I say optimal build, I'm coming at this with a mindset of completionism, PvM prowess, relative skilling efficiency, and overall what seems to be the most fun given my background and knowledge of RS3. I'll be taking everything into account, from the passive rewards from certain tiers to my own personal knowledge as a 5.8 Billick Spear, Grandmaster, top 5 rune score, true trim wannabe with a wide depth of game experience from early game to Iron Man to the pinnacle of endgame. So hopefully you'll find some value in that background in regards to what I'm going to share today. So let's get right into it, starting with the tier 1 relic. Now right out the gate, we have what I believe to be the easiest choice bar none. We're taking Excavator. Excavator is a relic that's going to provide us huge buffs to mining and archaeology, with some indirect buffs to our efficiency in crafting and smithing. Archaeology is a skill that goes all the way up to level 120, and all of the 3 other skills, mining, smithing, and crafting, are all skills that also go up to level 110. So having some really big early game benefits that can sustain us that deep into the end game of this league is going to be a clear choice over the other 2 relics. And once we consider that just by training archaeology, we'll be able to unlock some artifacts that grant us abilities like always adds, bait and switch, or divine conversion that all basically do what the other 2 league relics are offering, it doesn't make any sense to take the underpowered and ultimately redundant early game buffs like those 2 relics. Not only that, but it's also confirmed that the Gates of Elidinus will be available to play without any of the quest requirements, and the most notable reward from the Gates of Elidinus is the Memory Dowser item, which in essence is just the divination portion of the Divine Woodcutter League relic. So there's really no world where I see Divine Woodcutter or Animal Wrangler being worth anyone's time. They'll give you the tiniest buffs in the very early game for the first 3 to 4 hours when you're starting completely fresh with no food, no logs, no divine energy, but over the course of the whole league, those 2 relics are complete jokes that become redundant through archaeology unlocks. So tier 1, lock it in with Excavator. Huge early quality of life with auto banking, 5 times chronotes for more versatile PvM and skilling artifact management, indirect buffs to crafting and smithing with auto bar smelting and auto cutting gems. This relic is unbeatable in tier 1. Tier 2. Tier 2 was originally looking like a very difficult choice between Golden Footed and Farming Frenzy. 5 Finger Discount was a terrible throwaway relic that no one should even consider taking. Not even the biggest kleptomaniacs out there would want such an underwhelming relic that's just completely outclassed by the Thieving Skill Cape perk itself, which you're going to be able to get in just a handful of hours. So let's look at our other 2 choices in Golden Footed and Farming Frenzy, and why I think Golden Footed is going to be the clear winner in the long run. At a first glance, Farming Frenzy is actually incredible, and you won't be sorry if you pick this relic as a casual Leagues player. Planting a single herb seed counts as planting 10 seeds. With a 15% increased yield, patches are also auto-harvested. They're always treated with Ultra Compost, and seeds will grow instantly upon planting them. So with a decent amount of seeds, you would be able to knock out 200 million farming within just a couple of hours and have all of the supplies necessary for 200 million herb lore, as well as supplies for the rest of your PvM journey all accounted for. It really is a great relic. That is, until you look at the tier 7 passive effect that grants you unlimited casts of the advanced time spell. With that advanced time spell, as the name states, you can advance time by 1 day at a time per cast and reap the benefits from activities like Throne of Miscellanea, Manor Farm, and Ranch Out of Time, and quite a bit more, merely at the cost of just a few time runes that you get from rune crafting. So suddenly at tier 7, if you can claim a year's worth of miscellanea herbs in just minutes, then insta-growing herbs with the farming relic starts to seem a bit trivial. Maybe you're wondering about the farming XP trade-off though, and well, again with advanced time, being able to advance time at your player-owned farm and artificially speeding up that breeding process within minutes has you covered on all of your farming XP needs. So if you are able to delay some gratification and get by with manual farm runs until you reach tier 7, you're going to be at a huge advantage over anyone else for the rest of the league who takes the farming relic. And what do you get in return by skipping the farming relic and taking the Golden Footed relic? Well, you get peace of mind, passive agility XP, and an easy source for early game money by completing agility laps. The golden footed relic is going to give you a pair of golden hawk boots, which are basically supercharged silver hawk boots from the main game. Those will grant you agility experience every 10 ticks, or anytime you use an ultimate combat ability. When completing agility laps, you'll get coins, but not only that, all agility XP from doing laps is upped by 200%. We all know that agility is a pretty brutal skill that no one really relishes training, so the fact that we have our farming needs taken care of with the tier 7 passive effect means that we can take golden footed with total peace of mind that we're not missing out on anything from tier 2. Golden footed, locked in. Now tier 3 brings us the teleport relics, and frankly in this tier there's no clear-cut winner. These are all equally pretty trivial in modern day RS. We have so many teleport options, and it's already so unbelievably quick to get anywhere in the game just based off the lodestone network teleports alone. Those will take you to all major cities in the game. That said, let's still look at these relics and I'll give you my personal pick. Starting off, we have Assassin's Insight that allows you to teleport to Slayer Masters and any Slayer creature. This one is probably pretty nice if you're a newer player or an old school player and you don't really know the locations of any of the masters or the monsters. But otherwise, there's really not any one Slayer monster that's so far out of the way that having this direct teleport blows my mind as a relic. Generally, everything is already going to be close enough to a lodestone anyway. But like I said, if you don't know the locations, then this might be a fair pick. Voidwalker is our next relic, and this effectively grants you a pre-made version of an existing item called the Passage of the Abyss. The Passage of the Abyss is an item that can store various teleport jewelry within it. So within your passage, you can have things like a games necklace, a ring of dueling, an amulet of glory, etc, etc. Basically all of the teleport jewelry within one item. This relic is going to shine for clue scroll focused players, but even then it's actually a bit of a double-edged sword. It's going to help with those early clue scrolls for sure, but with some of the upcoming clue relics that we're going to talk about, you'll be able to craft your own actual Passage of the Abyss in less than an hour. So this also might become a bit of a redundant relic pretty quickly. Now the last relic in this tier, and the one that I'm planning to pick, is called Fairy's Flight. This gives you access to a device that can teleport you to any fairy ring, any spirit tree, or any farming patch, and also automatically completes the Tree Gnome Village quest. So right out the gate with this one, fairy ring teleports are quite useful, but most interesting is the ability to teleport to any farming patch. Since we are skipping the farming relic from tier 2, being able to speed up our manual farm runs and save inventory space with a one-stop shop teleport item like this is going to be a really nice quality of life upgrade until we do hit tier 7. That and automatically completing a quest is also great. I don't know about you, but I'd rather not spend my time doing quests all over again during the league. I just want to play with the busted relics. So any time save on quests is going to be great, and Fairy's Flight is locked in as my pick for the tier 3 relic. In tier 4, we have Rejuvenated that lets us pick a previous relic that we passed up on from tiers 1 through 3, but nothing we passed up on so far seems worth taking over the other two relics in tier 4. That being Production Master or Clue Connoisseur. And this one here is actually going to be a pretty tough pick, but from an overall league's point completion perspective and overall fun standpoint, I am leaning towards Clue Connoisseur. From a skilling perspective, Production Master is a no-brainer, seeing as it gives you a +6 skilling boost. It also grants you unlimited skilling urns, which boost your XP an hour substantially, and a lot of skilling actions will be instantly processed. So this relic will absolutely skyrocket your XP an hour in a bunch of skills like smithing, herblore, cooking, crafting, and construction. It is a great relic and you really can't go wrong. If you do pick this one, you'll be a very happy gamer. But like I said, when it comes to overall league progression, I think Clue Connoisseur is going to be what takes the cake. With this relic, you'll basically complete 2 clues at once, and you can complete clues at lightning speed with the Infinite Charge Globetrotter outfit. It's actually going to be completely silly. Now in the main game, the Globetrotter outfit has very limited charges, because some of the benefits that it provides are very powerful. You can automatically perform emote steps, you can re-roll a clue step that you don't like, and you have the ability to directly teleport to the final destination of your current clue scroll step. And that last one is the really busted one. You can put the Globetrotter outfit on your action bar and just repeatedly teleport to the location of your current clue step. Now if this league is going to be anything like it is in old school, there are going to be an absolute ton of league points up for grabs from clue scrolls. So in the grand scheme of the game mode, I think that this is going to be the strongest choice in this tier, and frankly, it's going to be the most fun choice. Who wouldn't want to open up 1,000 master clue caskets in just a day's worth of playtime? So for tier 4, let's lock it in with Clue Connoisseur. Now tier 5 brings us the combat skill relics. This is likely going to be the tier that determines your primary combat style for the remainder of the league, so it is an important choice and a pretty personal choice. Now they mostly provide similar buffs across the combat styles. Things like having a 100% hit chance with your chosen combat style, being able to save relevant supplies like ammunition or runes, and having reduced cooldowns on abilities. That said, for the most part, none of these combat relics drastically change your approach to how you play that combat style. Like the ranged relic, for example, makes single targeting abilities hit up to 9 extra enemies within a tile range. Well, realistically, if you're a ranger in RS3, you're using that combat style to really nuke down a single big monster like Zamorak or Virago, where there aren't really any extra minions around to take advantage of that league-specific effect. If you're doing Slayer with ranged, you're trolling. Necromancy is the #1 Slayer style by a country mile, and Mage Melee are both close seconds. Ranged is by far the worst style for Slayer, even with this league relic. So this relic doesn't drastically change how you approach the overall ranged experience. The magic relic's big gimmick is that your critical strike damage is increased by 50%. Now that one's actually going to be pretty sick. Magic in RS3 is a critical strike focused combat style that focuses on some epic synergies with things like the Fractured Staff of Armadyl and Erethdor's Grimoire. So this is going to be a very fun relic if you enjoy magic, but it's not going to make for any drastic changes in how you approach playing as a magician. The Necromancy relic seems pretty juiced, and I think this is going to be the most popular combat relic. It's definitely the one that I'm going to recommend for more entry-level combat players. Generating double adrenaline and having reduced cooldowns is pretty interesting. That should let you get off another Death Skulls and some extra big finger blasts during your living death. So you'll be doing some crazy damage overall with Necromancy. That, paired with the 25% enhancement to your conjure damage, will be really strong, especially if that 25% is applying to the Ghost Conjure's Haunted effect. Every single group in the game is going to want to have at least one Soulborn Necromancer on their team. This relic is probably going to be the simplest to use and the most versatile combat relic out there in the league, so it is going to be the easiest recommendation of the 4. That said, of the 4 relics, the melee relic is really the only one that seems to change your overall approach to the combat style as a whole. First of all, melee attack range is increased by a tile. Right out the gate, that's going to be huge for Slayer. Being able to have all of your normal two-handed weapons act as a halberd type weapon is awesome. Still, it won't outclass Necromancy Slayer on its own until the very late game, but already that's a huge buff, and it works really well for most melee PVM scenarios as well. Most likely, this is also going to turn your halberd type weapons into 3-tile attack range weapons, so you'll have even more versatility with your AoE abilities in all PVM scenarios. Melee's base damage is also going to be increased by 500 with this relic. Now, this was worded a little bit oddly, so it is unclear if that's 500 damage more per ability, or if it's 500 more weapon damage, or what exactly is going on there. If it is the former, it's cool, it's a little buff, but if it's the latter, adding 500 damage to your weapon damage, that is going to be unbelievably busted. If you're adding 500 weapon damage to any given melee weapon, well, suddenly, your best in slot tier 95 sword is basically going to be the equivalent of something like a tier 105, if not higher. Even in the relatively early to mid game, that would be a huge game changer. When you could get something like a tier 60 dragon weapon and have it suddenly be the equivalent of a tier 80 or tier 85. On top of all that, all of your melee abilities are going to provide some passive healing, so you'll be able to sustain yourself much more easily even while you're under the effects of Berserk and are taking increased damage. All of this put together is a pretty drastic change up in playstyle as a meleeer, and in my opinion is the most interesting of the 4 combat relics. So that's what I'm going to pick. So to summarize this tier, ranged and mage are pretty boring relics. They're strong, but they're boring. Necromancy is the clear winner for most players. If you're a more casual player, if you're less experienced with RS3 combat in general, and you want to have the most versatile combat option, pick Necromancy. But for me, melee seems like the most fun and the most powerful for any experienced RS3 players out there, and that's going to be the one that I pick. So for tier 5, we're locking in the Barbarianism relic. Now in tier 6, we have the choice between Banker's Note and Perfection. This is a super easy choice. Perfection is a clear winner. Banker's Note is a noob trap and an irrelevant, lazily copy-pasted relic from the old school league. This is a noob trap, and it's a familiarity trap. This has next to no relevance in RS3. This is a phenomenal relic, and I know it's highly popular in old school leagues, but this is a different game altogether, and we don't suffer some of those same quality of life limitations that they do in old school. Do not take the Banker's Note relic in this league. It's a total joke for RS3. We have banks, portals, and teleports out the wazoo, not to mention banking presets that speed up all of our skilling processes. Any relevant shops are all within earshot of a bank as well. If the Banker's Note provided some more tailored RS3 effects, maybe even something like infinite stock at shops, or buying items directly to the bank, maybe there's more of an argument, but as it stands right now as a copy-paste from old school, this relic just does not fit RS3. Perfection, on the other hand, is an insanely powerful perk that is going to give the perfect introduction to a skill that many new players are curious about in invention. Having unlimited invention materials means that you can experience everything the skill has to offer right out the gate with no worries whatsoever. You'll be able to get 200 million experience within hours, have all of the tools, gizmos, gadgets, and sick unlocks available to you without hardly lifting a finger. It's also going to be the single best choice for any prospective PVMers out there. You're going to be able to get all of the best in slot perks with zero effort and zero worry about having to tediously farm rare materials or boss drops that give rare components. I could speak more about this relic, but honestly, there's zero question here. Perfection is the way to go. Tier 7. In this final tier, we have the 3 most busted, supercharged, and completely overpowered combat relics. Honestly, you can't go wrong with any of the 3, but I still have my recommendation here. Ascension is the funniest relic, and probably the most fun, but objectively I think it's outclassed by the other 2. This relic grants you the Elder God Book that can grant you the effects of basically every PVM relevant pocket slot in the game, from the basic God Books, the God Wars 3 scriptures, and the Thor's Grimoire, all active at once. This one's definitely going to lead to some super funny RNG moments where you get multiple big God Book procs simultaneously, like a full book proc that buffs your damage, paired with a big Armadillo Book Tornado proc, and maybe something else silly like a Wen Book Ice Laser Beam attack all going off at once. It's going to be a super chaotic one, a major DPS increase, overall really funny and really fun, but I do think that the other 2 relics will be even more game-breaking than this. Starting with by far the most game-breaking one, the literal immortality relic, Everlasting Faith. Prayer points will never drain if you take this relic, so immediately that's huge inventory management quality of life. There's going to be no more need to worry about prayer potions, restore potions, or the dreaded blessed flask grind. Protection prayers are also 100% effective and act as the soul split curse at the same time. In RS3, this is completely mental. The only things that can ever do damage to you are typeless attacks like some of the boss special mechanics, or off-style attacks that usually come from little minions, but even that is usually pretty rare. This relic is actually so nuts, but it gets even crazier. If you somehow manage to die, which honestly I don't see how it's possible when you're blocking basically 100% of damage, but if you somehow manage to die, you'll be revived on the spot with full adrenaline and full HP. Now there is a 5-minute cooldown on that, but my word, this relic is strong. You'll be able to kill 60,000% enraged Zamorak with no food as a total learner. His auto attacks that normally do 20 to 30,000 damage to you at a time will do 0 damage to you. So as long as you do the bare minimum in keeping the right prayer up, the only thing that can kill you, even at a ridiculous boss encounter like 60k Zami, are the typeless damage special attacks. You can take this relic, go to solo AoD, have all 4 of the magic minions on you hitting you for 0 damage, and you'll only have to worry about Nex's low hitting melee attacks, which you would be able to fully safely negate with things like resonance, or frankly, just out heal with that passive soul split effect. You'll be praying magic, taking 0 damage from 4 brutally strong monsters and healing at the same time on a boss that's designed for 7 people. The ridiculous possibilities are honestly endless with this relic. It's so crazy busted, and it's the total no-brainer pick for anyone who wants to experience everything endgame PvM has to offer with little to no worry. Now, for those players who are already pretty well versed with RS3 PvM and don't necessarily need to be immortal, the Specialist relic is going to be the go-to and is going to be the relic that I personally pick. Objectively, this seems like the most consistent and the strongest DPS relic that you can pick. The Immortality one sounds unbelievably busted and hilariously fun, but I'm already experienced with PvM. I'm a Grandmaster, I can do high enrage bosses with no food already, so what I'm looking forward to doing in this league is pumping out some ridiculous damage numbers, and the Specialist relic is going to be what I believe is going to provide that. Even over the Godbook relic, this should be a more versatile and a more uniform damage increase that will be a huge buff to any and all PvM, even Slayer content. So this relic is going to provide you an Essence of Finality amulet with all of the weapon special attacks unlocked out the gate, plus all special attacks are going to do substantially increased damage. Having all special attacks unlocked right away is arguably going to be more insane than the increased damage from specs. For example, I could be level 1 ranged, having gotten to tier 7 relying on all of my other stats, and I would already have a Seren Godbow and an Eldritch Crossbow stored in my Elder Essence of Finality, ready to go without ever having stepped foot in the Telos encounter or the Elite Dungeon 3 encounter. That's going to be a huge time save, getting to skip some tedious grinds like ED3 and still having access to hugely important and impactful special attacks. Having them this early is also going to be a huge bonus. Things like the Dragon Two-Hander or the Dragon Halberd special attack stored in EOF will pair really nicely with the melee relic, and that's going to make an indescribably powerful impact on mid-game Slayer. So on top of all this, having early access to all weapon specs, having all specs do 50% more damage, every 15 seconds your next spec is going to cost 0 adrenaline. So the ability to spam special attacks is going to be so fun and provide so much damage. Once you start pairing this with some basic PvM tech like critical strike buffs or natural instinct, the amount of damage you're going to be able to output is going to be completely absurd. Honestly, I cannot wait to get my hands on this relic. So to summarize this tier, the Godbook relic is super funny. I do want to see a lot of clips of people using it, but I'm not going to take this relic myself. It's a bit too inconsistent in which effects will activate, and it's a bit too gimmicky for my liking, but it is very funny. Everlasting Faith is the no-brainer pick for lesser experienced players. You will basically be immortal at every single boss encounter. If I wasn't already a relatively experienced PvMer myself, that's the relic I would pick. But as a reasonably experienced PvMer and someone who wants to speed up as much of my personal league's progression as possible, the Specialist relic is my personal pick. So there you have it. To summarize all 7 of my relic picks this league, I'll be going Excavator, Golden Footed, Fairy's Flight, Clue Connoisseur, Barbarianism from Melee, Perfection, and Specialist. Let me know what relic build you'll be rocking, and if you found this video informative. I will be streaming leagues non-stop and making daily recap videos here on my YouTube channel, so please be sure to follow me on Twitch and subscribe here on YouTube to follow the journey, as well as to stay up to date on all things leagues. Thanks for watching, good luck in the league, and see you soon.